goodbye booze forevermore. My foolish days will soon be o'er. I had a good time and I couldn't agree. You see what booze has done for me. She tore my clothes, she swelled my head. So goodbye booze, I'm a-going to bed. Well, I had a good time and I couldn't agree. You see what booze has done for me.
In 1919, America decided to ban the manufacture, distribution, and sale of so-called intoxicating liquors. This ban, formalized with the ratification of the 18th Amendment, started a period known as Prohibition. Now, it's easy to forget that during the Roaring '20s, which is a decade of parties and flappers and wealth and jazz and general social exuberance, buying alcohol during the entire decade was totally illegal. Many chose to ignore that law, however, and so many, in fact, that by 1933, the 18th Amendment was repealed by FDR with the passage of the 21st Amendment. So in this assignment today is to identify some of the reasons why this 18th Amendment failed. But before that, we're going to take a quick look at why it was passed in the first place. Now, throughout the 1800s, alcoholism was becoming more and more disastrous for the American family, particularly the American men responsible for providing for these families. Men working in factories or offices took their weekly paychecks to the local pub instead of bringing them straight home. There they blow the money on alcohol or, as you can see down here, gambling it away. Meanwhile, his wife and children were at home waiting for him to return, hungry and desperate. Problems arose for these families very quickly. The men lost their jobs, some were sent to jail, they would lose their wages, and oftentimes return home only to bring desperation and violence upon their wives and children. Logically then, a movement to ban alcohol started with women.
Drifting too far from the shore.
Throughout the 1800s, but especially in the 1870s and 1880s, Women's Christian Temperance Union, the WCTU, joined women together from all around the country to become the lead group to take on alcohol consumption. The WCTU, along with other temperance societies such as the Anti-Saloon League, lobbied local, state, and federal governments to ban alcohol on the grounds it was destroying families, it was sinful, and even during World War I was determined to be hampering the effort and the health of our soldiers. These efforts were ultimately successful, and the 18th Amendment was passed in 1919. Initially, the ban seemed successful, but over time, people devised ways to get alcohol. In fact, a whole criminal industry sprang up to support the illegal transport and distribution of alcohol. Called bootleggers, these criminals, whether running moonshine from illegal stills in the woods of Kentucky and Georgia, or sneaking a Canadian whiskey over the Canadian border in Michigan and Ohio, became some of the most notorious bandits of the 20th century. The most famous of whom you may have heard of is Al Capone, the original Scarface. Now, many of these became heroes of American rebelliousness and its independent spirit. Scores of movies have been made to mythologize this era. Classic oldies like Little Caesar, Public Enemy, and Scarface, and newer classics like The Road to Perdition and my personal favorite, The Untouchables, which pitted Capone against the Fed's greatest enforcer of the 18th Amendment, Eliot Ness. The reality, however, was that the 18th Amendment ultimately did fail. Besides the crime, otherwise law-abiding citizens were forced to find ways to buy their illegal hooch, or to go to speakeasies, which were secret bars you would sneak into to buy a legal drink.
Prohibition is a failure, as anyone can see, for whiskey is sold in every town in the good old USA.
Now finally, FDR in 1933, understanding that the amendment was failing, but also 4 years into the Great Depression, realizing that Americans just needed a drink, supported the repeal of the 18th Amendment by signing into law the 21st Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So in this assignment, you're going to analyze 5 separate charts that show some trends over the time that includes Prohibition. One thing to keep in mind, on the x-axis of each one of these charts, you're going to see here, for example, is chart A. It's about Prohibition. You're going to see a series of years. Here it says 1917, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Prohibition ran from 1919 to 1933. So as you go through each of these, here you see document B. As you go through each of these, recognize when Prohibition started. Here it started in 1919. It ran through the entire rest of this chart to 1929. Chart C, here it starts here in Prohibition began, and then it shows you where Prohibition was repealed and taken away. All right, distilled spirits or alcohol. Here's chart here's chart D. Here shows the murder rate between 1919 and 1933. And finally in chart E, you'll see law enforcement officers killed during a period that goes all the way back to 1792 and up to 2007. But again, recognize which is the period during Prohibition and what happened during Prohibition. All the time asking yourself the question, well, was Prohibition making things better for Americans according to these charts, or was Prohibition making it worse for Americans during these periods? It's these questions. All right, so this is a Friday assignment. You'll have the weekend to work on it, but it shouldn't take you that long. I appreciate you watching the whole video, and I'll talk to you all next week.
You all will see, we'll have light wines and good old beer in 1933. And if we do not get it, I'm telling you and you, we'll make our old home liquor and drink our old home brew.